Welcome to Wrong Time Watch. My name is Kevin, and in this video, we're looking at the Laco Cuxhaven in the Stowa Marine Original. Now, the Laco was lent into the channel by Laco, and the Stowa I purchased used a couple of years ago. This watch is from 2013, so it has the old logo still, and I think there's some other minor changes, so just keep that in mind during this comparison video. So let's talk about size. The Laco is slightly larger than the Stowa. The lug-to-lug dimension on the Laco, it'll be this dimension here, is 49.5, and on the Stowa it is 50.1. So when I said the Laco was slightly larger, that's in the diameter dimension. So the diameter on this is 42.5 versus 41 on the Stowa. Then moving on to the thickness, the Laco is thinner than the Stowa, and that is mainly due to the crystal. The Laco has a flat sapphire crystal, and the Stowa has a domed sapphire crystal. Let's see if I can angle these so you can see the difference here. You may not be able to see that with the background, but this does have a slight dome to it. So that may not make up for all the difference in the thickness. They both have 22 millimeter lug width, 22 millimeter here, and the crown size on the Laco, the crown is 7.4 millimeter versus 7.2 millimeter on the Stowa. I'll try and show these here back to back. You'll be able to see the difference in the lug-to-lug dimension. So you can see the lugs are slightly taller on the Stowa. In the crown, probably can't really tell the difference in that. That's only 0.2 of a millimeter. But since we're here, you can see both crowns are signed. And you can see that the Laco has a brush finish on the mid case versus the Stowa, which is all polished. And lastly, the weight on the Laco is 80.5 grams versus 72 for the Stowa. So as I mentioned, they both have sapphire crystal on the front, sapphire crystal on the back. Actually, you can see the difference in the case diameter, as you can see slightly more of the movement on the Laco. You can see based on the screw head there versus the screw head over there, it's just slightly larger. And speaking of the screws, all the screws are blued. I don't know if the screws are thermally blued or heat blued, but I know that the hands on both of these are thermally blued. Let's see if I can catch these in the light here. They look black from certain angles, but when you hit the light just right, they look blue. There we go. Blued hands. I really like the blued hands. There's a special process you go through. You have to heat it up to a certain temperature and then bring it back down. And the stainless steel actually turns this blue color. It's not a paint or anything like that. But the Laco hands are blued as well. Just a little harder to see since the blued portion is thinner than on the Stowa. But there's a good reason for that. This has Lume applied. The Laco has Superluminova C3 Lume on the hands and the indices and also the Arabics. So speaking of the dials, the Laco is enamel painted, and the Stowa, it looks like it may be enamel painted, but it just says that it's a polished dial. You can also get the Stowa with a silver dial, which this one is not. So the subdial on the Laco You may not be able to see it, but it actually has some rings in there, some concentric rings. It looks great out in the sunlight. And then the subdial on the Stowa has the railroad track around there, so it's a little easier to see precisely what second you're at. And actually, I meant to line up these hands. So anyway, both are hand winding. We'll talk about the movement in a moment here. Neither of them hack. Well, let's just go over the movement. They both have the Unitas 6498-1. So that's again the 6498-1 movement. So if we look at the back of these again, you can see that they have the same movement, but the Stowa is, we'll say, upgraded. The Stowa has the swan neck regulator, and also there's some more finishing. There is finishing under the balance wheel. The Laco does not have that. So I'm not sure why the striping is different on different angles. So let me zoom in on the Stowa here, and then we'll look at the Laco next. So you can see under the balance wheel there's some perlage going on underneath there. And also the swan neck regulator, that's this curved piece right here. I don't know exactly what the benefit is versus the regulator on the other one. Just know that they're different. And I think on the new Stowa, the logo here is different as well on the back. And then if you buy the one with the silver dial, they put some special finishing on the gears there as well. So anyway, let's bring the Laco up here. They're both great looking movements. I could spend hours just looking at them. Like I said in my previous video, I really appreciate being able to see the movement and hand winding it. I just think it's really neat. So let me turn this around and wind it up. You can see the gear here moving with the Laco engraved down there. You hear it clicking away there as you're winding it up. So the Laco, as I mentioned previously, has Lume, and it also is 100 meter water resistant versus 50 meter water resistant on the Stowa. So if you were to wear one of these every day, I would give Practicality more to the Laco because of the Lume and the higher water resistance. But as far as hand washing and getting wet, I think 50 meter is fine. So as I mentioned earlier in the video here, the proportions are a little bit different. The case is wider, but the lugs are shorter. And one kind of issue that causes is the strap rubs on the case just a little bit. You may be able to see some, no, maybe not. You can kind of see a little bit of wear in the center there. I don't know what that's going to look like over time, but it doesn't really bother me. It does allow the case to be a little more compact. And the lug-to-lug dimension, which is critical for a small wrist like mine. Actually, both of these are a bit too large for my wrist. Like I said, I'm not keeping this watch. I'm sending it back to Laco. Before I send it to Laco, I'm going to send it off to a few friends that will also review this on their channel. And the Stowa, I think I've had it for 2 years now. I've never really worn it. I just put it on wrist, but it's just too big for me. So I did wanted this watch for a long time. And, it's kind of a grail watch for me. And then when I got it in and put it on wrist, my heart sunk a little bit, but I will be selling this. Just need to let it go. So a little bit of history on these brands. Laco's was founded in 1925. Stowa was founded in 1927, so they both have plenty of history. These watches were 2 of 5 brands that provided Flieger watches for the German Air Force during World War II. It was Laco, Stowa, A-Lang and Zona, Wempe, and I think IWC. So those are the 5 brands. Now, as far as purchasing these watches, the Stowa you have to buy from the Stowa website. Laco you can also buy from the Laco website, but you can also buy it from, I saw it on Amazon. I'm not sure if that's an authorized dealer. I have no idea. But also Island Watch, you can just go online and do a search, obviously, but these are more, I don't know if I'd say more readily available, but you can get them from various sources versus a Stowa you would just purchase from their website. I've not personally purchased anything from the Stowa website. A fellow Random Raw Patreon actually just picked up a smaller Stowa. I forgot what brand it is, what model it is, but he didn't seem to have any issues with that. Just something to note. I don't think I'm going to do a Lume shot. I'll just hit this with my black light. This Stowa has no Lume, so let's just straighten these out here and blast this with the UV black light. Sorry, so you can see all the Lume on the Laco there, and the Stowa has no Lume. Oh, let's look at the Laco case a little bit more here. As I mentioned in my previous video, it has the fluted bezel, which I didn't really care for at first, but I have grown to appreciate it, and I actually kind of like it now. It has the brushed case, so you have a mixture of polished, and then the polished flutes, and then your brushed case, and that's brushed between the lugs. That is brushed for most of that mid case. This is more of an onion style crown. They're both easy enough to grip. This one may be a little easier. And this Stowa is polished everywhere. Oh, yeah, so the Stowa, the straps do not interfere with the case at all, but it does have the longer lugs. I'll put both of these on wrist in a moment here before I forget about it. Now, if you guys paid attention to the text around the movement there, I myself was just staring at the movement. Well, you can see there Unitas. Oh, you can probably read this better than I can, but there's similar text along that case back there. Here we are with the Laco. Both of these are made in Germany, obviously. So I'll show you that text on the dial, and then we'll close out the video with a Lume shot. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I'd appreciate it. Let me know in the comments if you have a preference between either of these. I think it would just come down to whichever one you like the looks of better. Oh, also price. I forgot to mention the price. The price is basically if you want to watch and you pay the price for it, but if you want to look at it just on a price basis, the Laco, when I checked today on Amazon, it was $1,160. On the Laco website, it's $980, which today is about the same, $1,160 US. The Stowa, I believe it was 1,273 and 40 cent euro, or however you want to say that, which translates to converts to about 1,475 US. So that is an approximate difference in price of $300 US. But the quality of both of these watches are the same. I would just, if you want to base the purchase decision on the price, or which one you like the looks of better. They're both very nice quality watches. So anyway, let me get these on wrist. We'll start with the Laco. Oh yeah, the strap on the Laco is a little bit too big for me, but they do offer smaller straps, 2 centimeters smaller, so that would fit my wrist fine. Again, I have a 6.5-inch wrist with the 52 millimeter wristband, and the lug to lug on this one was 49.5. I measured that with my calipers. I think the Laco website said it is 49.8, so it's close enough. All right, and the white dial doesn't really do any favors for looking small on wrist. The white dial makes it look a little bit larger on wrist. So, let me know if you guys would wear a watch this size with my wrist, or if you like it enough, you just wear it anyway. I guess I didn't talk about the strap at all, but it's a nice leather strap, handmade in Germany, 22 tapering down to 20, signed by Laco there, and the buckle is also signed, the polished buckle. All right, let's bring the Stowa over. Guess I'll show off the strap as well, and the buckle. This is also signed. Yeah, like I said, this is a used watch, but it is embossed with Stowa there. I think it tapers down as well. So let's get this one on wrist. There is one more hole in there I could get to, but I don't really want to stretch it that hard, that much, let's just say. So just one more time, my wrist is 6.5 inches, 52 millimeter wristband, and the lug to lug on this one is essentially 50 millimeter. So it's about a 0.5 millimeter difference. By the way, I measured it for my calipers. We'll just put these side by side for a moment. Say from this angle here, from this distance, the Stowa is a little easier to read. At least on camera, but yeah, maybe by eye a little bit as well. But the Laco will be a lot easier to read at night, obviously. So. All right, let's zoom in here. Sorry about the length of the video. Just getting carried away with these watches. I could just study them for an hour at least. So anyway, I think that will do it for the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Like I said, I'll be shipping this watch off soon. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.